All right. So in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what is continuous integration and what concepts we have to understand and what we're going to be learning about. So CI/CD is split into two parts. CI is continuous integration and CD is continuous deployment. The CI part basically refers to um, a specific workflow or steps that you can take in order to check any changes that you do to your code that will eventually get published or deployed, hence the continuous deployment part. So CI is doing the checking, and you want to test things, test your changes in your code so it makes sure that you're not breaking anything. And after you make sure that those tests are passed, then you can go ahead and deploy whatever artifact or product or thing you want to to have uh, that your code possibly generates. And so uh, you can think about it as a catch and release. That's why we have this GIF here, trying to illustrate that once you find something, you throw you try to catch errors, or you try to find things that break your code. And if you don't find anything, you release it. And this is generally considered a good practice to have, although it's a little bit of more work to make it function properly. But this is actually worth doing in the long run because it saves you from a lot of uh, checking manually. So, what do we mean by breaking? Well, it depends on the context. So, by breaking something in terms of your code, let's say if you're working with a compiled language like C++, then you probably just want to make sure that your code compiles and it can run. If it's Python code, you want to do some tests on that code with something like PyTest and make sure that whatever you're doing passes successfully. If you don't know about PyTest, I suggest you look it up. There are a few links of documentation in a training module that we point to in this tutorial. Or if you're working on, let's say, a document, like a LaTeX document, then you want to make sure that that LaTeX document also compiles and it can generate the PDF that you're looking for. This also, uh, you can think about checking also changes that you make to your personal website, depending on what framework you're using. You might be programming with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or you might be using Ruby or something else to generate your website, and you want to make sure that that code that you can build your website with the changes that you have added. So that's what we mean by breaking changes, those things that break the process of actually building whatever it is you're trying to do. And by deployment, what we mean is, well, that little thing that gets generated from your code, and it can be various things. In the case of a LaTeX document, usually it can be like some documentation or your CV, um, and you can have your CI/CD workflow test that your LaTeX code is working and compiles, and also generate that PDF, and you can upload it to your website, or you can upload it somewhere that you can download later. So basically, the idea with CI/CD is to automate the entire workflow of checking and deploying whatever it is that you're generating after those checks pass. And we want to have a computer do it in a way that is um, uh, consistent. So the main focus for the tutorial would be to basically check that your code is going to run properly for different kinds of working environments. You might be developing something like a Docker container, um, and so you can also check that whatever it is that you're trying to deploy works on different uh, operating systems, and that you can make sure that whatever it is that you're trying to produce works for everyone. There are a bunch of CI/CD solutions. We're going to mainly focus on the GitLab instance of CI. There's also another popular one, which is the native GitHub CI, and there's a bunch of other solutions listed there. But we're going to focus on the native GitLab CI. And that's basically it. So see you in the next video, where we're going to learn a bit more about a very important concept called exit codes.